Hi, this is Jim Gibson with Blackstone Cybersecurity, and today I want to talk to you about disaster recovery and business continuity. About a month ago, I was in San Diego for a conference of the Armed Forces Communications and Electronic Association. Wow, that's a long title, but it's also affectionately known as AFCEA. And I've been part of AFCEA on and off pretty much since 1980, and they have grown over the years, and this conference was fantastic. A lot of pretty notable people were there, admirals, generals, things like that, obviously from the Navy, the Marine Corps. It's a big Navy, Marine Corps area there in San Diego, but some of the defense contractors were there. A lot of talk about cybersecurity. Spa War was there, which is a Navy facility, and it was packed, a couple thousand at least individuals. But during that time, one of the speakers, and I'm sorry if I don't know his name, I should have wrote it down, but he was a Navy admiral nearing his retirement, and he was speaking about different issues that affects the military and security and cybersecurity, things like that. One of the things that he actually commented on was the fact that he was in Hawaii when there was that missile alert that took place back during, I think it's the summer actually, or the fall of 2017, when it was an accidental missile alert. And if you've seen some of the things on TV, you saw people running in different directions, and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what needed to be done and everything else. And of course, all the late night comedians commented on it. I don't think the people in Hawaii were very pleased or happy with the comments and the comedians made about the response there in Hawaii. But they have a lot to be concerned about. They're close to North Korea. North Korea is, of course, now a nuclear capable country, and they have threatened us on numerous occasions, and in some cases they really are unstable, and they've been that way for years. They've been pushing on this nuclear thing. But this admiral was out on a long hike in Hawaii with his wife, and she got an alert, and the alert said that there was incoming missiles, take shelter. And of course, as soon as she read that, his cell phone went off, and he got an alert, the same alert from the emergency system, saying that incoming missiles were taking place and everything else. And of course, he felt that it was probably a mistake, that it probably wasn't true. But what he brought out was the fact that there should be plans in place to deal with every situation you have. And in this particular time, he was speaking about, of course, the governor should have a plan in place. So the governor shouldn't come to the military or the other authorities in the area and say, what should we do now? Now that we have a missile inbound, what do we do now? What he should be saying is, exercise our plan. And from what the discussion was, I got the opinion there was not a plan. And I may be wrong on this, so I apologize in advance. It's just my recollection of what was said there. But really, any type of crisis you have, it shouldn't be talking to the IT person and saying, well, what is our plan? I'm sorry, you shouldn't be talking to the IT person and saying, what do we do now? But you should be, as a business owner or as a person responsible for IT, or the person responsible for the business or that section of the business, you should be saying, let's execute our plan. Sad to say, though, most businesses do not have business plans. They do not have disaster recovery plans. It was months before that when there was that large hurricane that hit Houston, and some of the news people were inside businesses, and at one shot you could see that they had a line of servers lined up on the wall, and those lines of servers were completely underwater. And I hope that business said to their IT staff, execute the plan for flooding, rather than what do we do now that my database is 2 foot underwater. You got to always plan for things, and disaster recovery and business continuity is something that's really important. Not fun to do. A lot of people say, well, I get it some other time, and don't worry about it. Our IT system is up and running, and we're happy, and this will never happen to us. But it does happen to you. Here in Southern California, we're on top of a hill, pretty much. So I don't really need to worry about flooding per se. But the other day, I was going to work, and I got a call from one of my employees, and he said when he opened up the door, the water was pouring out of the front door, and it was because the neighbor's pipe broke. But it did not affect our IT. We did have it up on a platform, so it did not affect our IT, but I'm sure it affected the neighbor's servers and everything else and within that whole building, because we just rent a suite. So, I'm sure that was the situation. So you have to ask yourself, are you prepared for a disaster, earthquake, tornado, flood? I mean, the last thing on my mind at this juncture was that I would get my office flooded out when I'm pretty much on top of a hill. But it did happen. 2 inches of water all over the place. And so you got to have a plan for everything. What happens when your backups fail, things like that. It's pretty noticeable that when I have spoken to a lot of companies and all, and they say, yeah, we have backups, we don't need to worry about it. But yet when we check the backups, we find out that the backups have not been backing up for the last 6 months or 6 years, who knows what. And if you haven't checked it, then it doesn't work. That's the way it is. So you have to check your backups. You have to have plans in place for all sorts of disasters, things like that. Another one was the owner of a pretty sizable company was taking home backup tapes every single day. And when I asked the IT staff, how often does she take these backup tapes home, they said, oh, maybe about once a month. And so I said, well, if something happens 2 weeks into that month, what happens to our backup tapes? They're 2 weeks behind. They lose 2 weeks worth of accounting and billing, 2 weeks worth of timesheets, 2 weeks worth of memos, production information, things like that. And there was no really confidence in the fact that even the tape she was taking home was worth anything. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you have a disaster recovery plan? Do you have a business continuity plan? Do you know what to do? If you're a sizable business, you should have people who are already ready to talk to the media if you have a major disaster, a building burning down, or if you have a major hack and you lose a lot of people's personal identifiable information, PII, or if you're a HIPAA person and you lost your database, who do you contact? What do you say to the person? How do you contact the FBI? How do you contact a different law enforcement if you've had a problem in your area? Years ago, we had a problem in our area, and the problem was that a love triangle between one of my employees and a person went south, and he showed up at our front door with a rifle. And we did not have a business continuity, business disaster plan in place that we should have had. We should have anticipated. I mean, who anticipates that? But he showed up with his rifle, and when he showed up with his rifle, at least my receptionist there quickly ran forward, locked the door before he got to the door, and at the same time she turned out all the lights, ran in the back, alerted everyone else, and they ran out the back door. So he eventually turned the rifle on himself and shot himself in the head. Kind of dramatic, but these things happen. And you have to plan for all sorts of things. If we were a big company, how do we handle that? Who is called? Do we have a call list in a disaster? And maybe some people live, I live in Southern California, it never snows. But in other parts of the country, you have snow on a regular basis. You have a lot of weather. Do you have a call list? So if you can't get in the front door, you call one person. You need a calling tree. So he calls two, or she calls two or three, and then they call two or three people, and you alert everybody. Or you tell them that if there is a question whether or not they can work that day or should work that day, that there is a place where they can call into. So business continuity, disaster recovery is really important. It's a policy. It's something that's thought about. And depending on what size you are, I guess no matter what size you are, you should exercise it every once in a while. What we do in our office is every once in a while we stop everything we're doing and we say, if there was an earthquake today, what would you do? Where would you run? What would you say? So you're not frozen in your seat waiting for that earthquake to get over, and hopefully the building won't fall on you. You actually have a plan. So our plan was, even at the beginning of whatever earthquake there is, you exit the building as fast as you possibly can. The other thing is fire extinguishers. We stopped and we looked at every single place where in the building we have a fire extinguisher. We let people look at it. Yeah, they knew it already. They knew it was there. But you know something, in an emergency, sometimes you don't think things through. But if it's in the back of your head that you know a fire extinguisher is hanging on the wall right there at that door, you know where to get it. You're not running around in circles like they did in Hawaii. And I felt sorry for those people in Hawaii. What do you do when you got a nuclear missile on the way to your house? You should have a plan in place. And as a business, you need these plans, and you need to exercise these plans once in a while. You need to know, that there's possibility all these disasters can take place. Well, that's something we specialize in. We can help you with your disaster recovery and business continuity plan. We can keep you up and running, but it's something that's done in advance. It's really hard to have business continuity if you had not thought it through ahead of time. Where's your backups? What type of backups? How long will it take for them to recover? Who do you contact? Things like that. But that's something that we design as a company, Blackstone Cybersecurity. That's part of cybersecurity. And if you need help in that area, we're more than happy to engage your company and help you with business continuity, disaster recovery plans. Please give us a call. Again, my name is Jim Gibson with Blackstone Cybersecurity. I hope you're having a great day.